Alright, welcome back to Lenz's Comic Corner Classic Us Known Classics. This is episode number 3071 and Doubleshot number 2965. First up we have is The Avengers by MacKay, Volume 2, Twilight Dreaming. Yep, Vision's here. Yeah, I think it was at a part of the roster when the book started. So, this book contains issues for Avengers. I believe this is Volume 7, issues 7 through 11. Actually, no, this is Volume 9. Yes, Volume 9 for Avengers. Issues 7 through 11. C.F. Villa does 7, 8, and 10. 9 is by Francisco Martello, and 11 by Ivan Verlo. The roster for these issues are the Carol Danvers, Captain Marvel, Sam Wilson, Captain America, Scarlet Witch, The Vision, Thor, Iron Man, and the Black Panther. Yep. By the way, I would love to hear everybody's thoughts on the current logo they have. Like, I look at this logo now, like, this might be a lot of the early I would say around mid-90s, around early to mid-90s logo for the Avengers. So, thing opens up, looks like some meteorites coming to Earth. And looking up, the Avengers basically, well, they try to help out, look like they're stopped. And for some reason, you have Carol here wearing her Miss Marvel outfit. And you have Thor wearing his outfit from, like, late 90s, I think it was. You have Iron Man looking like from the future. Yeah, it's basically like a vision of the future, like Avengers failed. Like, Avengers, and of course, you have Carol doing Avengers symbol. With doing her look like using her binary powers, and her basically showing a lot of veins in her muscles. You have Thor basically chipping in here with this green flame. I think it's supposed to be Black Panther fighting this creature, and they fight it for quite a while. And it turns out this is all a nightmare caused by Nightmare. Yes, frickin' Nightmare. This is all a dream. And then, oh yeah, apparently, like they apparently own the Impossible City, and of course, then she starts asking where her ex-husband is. Yep, they're like, Wanda, it's like, where are they? And then we see this new guy named Herda who's basically here with his Twilight Court. That's where Twilight Dream comes in, and he is asking for Kang the Conqueror, and that ends the first issue. Then we see it looks like a flashback of how basically where some training with the members of the Twilight Court. And basically they're preparing to basically go after Kang the Conqueror. Why the heck did the Kang the Conqueror? Well, because you know something. Of course, then we see a vision of the future. We see Thor, who looks like he's failed. Avengers assemble, and they fight off this Twilight Court, and apparently Nightmare basically chips in. And apparently he's been disrespected for some reason. So, by the way, in case you all forgot, he actually did die at one point. Yes, he got killed off in the start of Chaos War. And then he came back with no explanation. You could say, oh, because he's probably inevitable. Probably by they never gave an on-panel explanation of how the heck he survived being murdered by by the Chaos God, the former Japanese god from Davies Pages of Hercules. So I was like, yeah, and basically it's like outnumbered, and Carol basically steps up, it's like, this is the Avengers. It's like, we introduce ourselves properly. We're the Avengers, and this is our house. And then, of course, issue 9 begins basically like... Then we have a flashback, because basically I'll show you stuff, where you have Iron Man just snoozing. And then we have basically go back to the Avengers fighting the Twilight Court. You have Thor taking on that big muscle woman with a hammer. Yep. Everyone gets all matching opponents. And you're thinking, what the heck basically Kang the Conqueror's up to? Well, he is asleep. Yes, he's in a coma. He's been in a coma since the first story arc. So, then Iron Man sheds his armor. Fight, and of course, lots of fighting here. And then Murder manages to get away and manages to find Kang the Conqueror, where he is in a coma. That's the events of the opening story arc. Yep, and lots more fighting here, and then he gets stabbed. He gets woken up. So, his son of a demon, father of heroes, the Blackbird magician of the Twilight Court, murdered. And apparently this is a follow-up to Timeless, which is what MacKay wrote. And talking about his Avengers. Yeah, and basically what he's doing here, he takes away knowledge from Kang the Conqueror. My guess is because he's been threatened, of course, tosses blood around, because he leaves. He turns into this, for reasons, then leaves. And then we have Thor and Scarlet Witch visiting Nightmare. They chat for a little while about what happened here, and of course, basically, they agree. It's like they ask who made it, and it's like the 8th Cosmos. Yep, and the issue 11 comes around, where it's like, oh, it's like, why does Matt think of anything? It's like, who would break the Avengers? And then we see. My guess is, I'd say this issue probably takes place just after the opening issue, because it's the characters they find in the opening story, basically, because possibly it was built basically to house them. Oh yeah, and then there's mentioning about the Hellfire Gala, which this is set up for their tie-in issues for the Fall of X. That's kind of what this issue is. And then we have Jarvis show up with Mr. Sweeney. Those who are thinking, who the heck is Mr. Sweeney? He was a minor character who apparently was introduced back in the 80s for a one-shot appearance. And apparently Jed MacKay must have liked this character so much, who last appeared in Avengers 2, which they reference in here. Which, of course, he got the crap beat out of him by the guy who he's basically being mentored by, Edwin Jarvis. By the way, Jarvis himself does not need to do any major cleaning of the place. He just basically cooks dinner. He basically hires a chef. Everything is all hunky-dory. At one point, you have Sweeney getting really sick here and vomiting. Apparently, they were delayed by stopping at a diner because he really wanted to eat some corned beef. Yeah, and then, of course, basically, we have these automatons show up here. Yeah. And then, of course, they fight them here. Oh, and this actually, the insane Rubicon, now this basically says is, we had the Matt Thinker at the Rubicon to basically talk about, and he's talking to himself in a mirror, and we see these various images on the wall of his padded cell. Looks like it's painted, not with blood, but looks like actual paint for some reason. And I'm thinking, he's in a straitjacket, how the heck is he painting this stuff? Could it be he's painting stuff with his teeth? And then the thing ends with, no, my integrity's ruined. Yeah. It's like, okay, we had this interesting storyline with Kang the Conqueror, which lasts for a few issues, and we have the standalone issue, which just basically brings in a brand new character. And that's pretty much it. That's kind of what happens over the course of these issues. It's pretty good. Yes, I'm going to give this book here I'm going to give it roughly I want to be nice to it. I'm going to give it a 8.5 out of 10. Didn't feel as interesting as the first story per se. Just felt like more stuff happening here. But the next trade deals with Blood Hunt. Yep. Yeah, yes, I know it's been a while since I reviewed Jed MacKay's Avengers, but I was hoping Barnes & Noble might get get hands in the next trade, but nope. All they still had was the opening trade. I'm like, really? After all this time, they couldn't get their hands on the newest trade? Nope, I guess not. So I decided to get out here. Alright, next up basically we have is Taskmaster, the Rubicon Trigger. This actually is from Taskmaster Volume 3. Yeah, it's a quick 5-issue miniseries. where it's basically like a spy book, and Nick Fury Jr. is in the book too, with Satro Valiti, which a lot of this book, basically, MacKay writes it. It's basically follow up for some elements of Bioscars, which was released in 2011. This came out like last year. So in this opening issue, Maria Hill was murdered. And then, well, we don't really see, you see some cuts and blues. And then you see him basically using Taskmaster on a golf course, which is so funny. Like, here's a guy wearing a skull mask and dressed like he's like a ripoff of, like, Captain America. He's playing golf. And then we see Bullseye playing golf too. And then he and Taskmaster get into a fight, which is so funny. And he got away with a freaking golf cart, which is so funny. And then briefly we see the Robin Reyes Ghost Rider, which is so funny. And then of course he's shot at by this mysterious assassin. And then a car pulls up and it's Nick Fury Jr. Yep, it's Nick Fury Jr. Despite the fact Marvel is, oh, this is Nick Fury. No, this is Nick Fury Jr. Readers are not that stupid. And of course, they do reference the whole thing of him being originally Marcus Johnson. Yes, the fact that he was also accused. They also reference in here Dar's Dragon 2018. I don't remember those book released that year. And I think it may have been digital first, but probably don't remember because I remember it was 2006. So basically, Nick Fury Jr. tells us, "Oh, hey, Murray Hill's murdered." He's like, "I didn't do that." He's like, "Yeah, I know. I wouldn't let you ride in the car with me anyways." And then Black Widow is in this issue. Yes, they have a safe house. By the way, there's one miniseries released recently where Nick Fury gets a lot of screen time. Basically, the current Mystique series. This is a book we call Mystique. It's more like a Nick Fury book. By the way, fun fact, he actually did have a solo book. Yes, written by James Robinson. That got cancelled after 5 issues because I'm thinking because James Robinson left. I don't know if it was canceled due to low sales. I have no idea. It was a very interesting book. Also in the book, he had no facial hair. He was clean shaven. Not even hair on his head. So then, of course, basically, like, they bring up 3 people who could have killed Maria Hill. It's close to. One is the beloved Bill Coulson, who one point was a bad guy. Then I think at this point he was dead. You have Okada, the director of Agents of Wakanda, which, yeah, that's kind of something given the fact the comic is no longer published. Yeah, those of you curious about Agents of Wakanda, that was something Jason Aaron established during his very lengthy run of Avengers, which I really enjoyed that run. The whole thing with it's basically like people who work with the Black Panther, some who are family members, people who are basically just globetrotters, just do stuff basically, and also Anne Han, director of the Tiger Division. Yes. So then the second issue, we have the basic of Phil Coulson, and then we have get this, we have a flashback of Phil Coulson being murdered by Deadpool from Despicable Deadpool 300. Actually, I think it may be like 293. I think it was. Yes. So it says Wednesday, new comic day. Good. I basically know what to like. How's it going, Mr. Smith? Fine as wine, Marco. I have books here. Just a minute. Good. And you see him reading the Mark Guggenheim was Mark Greenwald Squadron Supreme book from the 80s, which is so awesome. In fact, I got to read like, and then he talks to a guy's like, "What's your favorite team?" Alpha Flight. Yeah, and it turns out that the guy who's actually here is frickin' Hyperion. Yeah, it turns out the guy who was talking to the comic book shop was in fact Hyperion. Which is weird, the fact they bring back this guy. Yeah. And they have a fight, which of course he nearly loses. Like, I basically broke your bones, but yeah, he basically the way he thinks with smoke grenades. Yeah, he's funny of all people, frickin' Hyperion. Oh, in case you're curious, though, is this the one Hickman created, who appeared Avengers at Brief Slow Book? No, this is not him. This is the one from. This is the Jason Aaron one he created, where it's like another 616 version of the character, something like that. They actually have one. Yeah. So then, of course, Hyperion smashes Taskmaster's sword, which, by the way, this sword has never been broken since his debut, and now Hyperion smashes it with his bare hand. Then he fires his arm because basically he's the man to do anything. By the way, it was reported by claimed by George Perez that Deathstroke from DC Comics is a ripoff of Taskmaster. And some people claim that Deadpool is a ripoff of Deathstroke. It's more of a nod to him. Rob Liefeld has actually claimed he's actually a ripoff of Snake Eyes from G.I. Joe. You have this mysterious green crystal, and then of course you have Hyperion. Apparently this crystal is Hyperion's weakness. Apparently. So he's bloody, and of course you have Black Widow appearing in their safe house. And then the very next issue, you have Taskmaster going to Korea, where for some reason he apparently has got pin particles where he shrinks and fights a member of the Tiger Division. He hides out from him. Yeah. And then he runs into White Fox, a character who actually got into a fight with Black Cat. Yes, seriously. A South Korean superhero. My like, yeah, and of course then we have mentioned the whole thing like, oh yeah, the punch I saw one time, yeah, like, punch him all the time, the kick Iron Fist uses, that throw that Cap used to toss me out a window, that stomp I saw Shang-Chi do, which is so funny, the fact he's referencing all these characters. Now, in the case of Hyperion, I'm sure Jeb MacKay probably felt like really wanted to use him. White Fox, I kind of feel it was a mixture of he wanted to use him, probably he was requested to use this character, so yeah, then of course you have White Fox versus Black Widow, which is interesting. But then they have him in a switch. And people with things in their head go nuts. Everyone's going crazy except for Taskmaster. Yeah, and like it seems like he takes out a knife, looks like he's about to stab Black Widow, but he's like, nope. He then proceeds to right in the wall and he says, I didn't kill Maria Hill. Yes, seriously. And then move on to the next issue, where he jumps on a plane. He's like, I don't want to do this anymore. Change his mind. Scared, Tony? Yeah, by the way, Taskmaster's real name is Tony Masters. Where he's like, don't call me Tony. I'm Taskmaster. He even pokes fun of the fact he wears a skull mask. And no, he is not Red Skull at all. No, he's just a mercenary. Then he parachutes into... I'm looking at it could be Manjapur. I know it's not South Korea. It could be Manjapur. No, it's not Manjapur. He actually parachutes into Wakanda, where he's confronted by their Secret Service, the White Panthers, where Okada, the director of the Agents of Wakanda, and a long-time Black Panther supporting character who was created by the awesome Christopher Priest and Mark Textra in the very first issue of their epic run for Black Panther back in 1998. So, yes, this woman has been around for almost 30 years. I'd say about 27 years this woman's around for. And of course, they reference the whole events of like Secret Empire in here, which good on Jeb MacKay for doing that. It's like I didn't take part in attack on Wakanda. I struck Atlantis. Does Wakanda shed tears for Atlantis? Which, okay, those of you curious about that. I mean, people know about Secret Empire, but you're thinking, wait a minute. When at one point was Atlantis at war with Wakanda? That happened in AVX because Namor decided to try to flood Wakanda because he was manipulated to say the Avengers were hiding Wakanda by Emma Frost. And That's why the Wakandans and Atlanteans don't like each other, because of that nonsense. And he's like, I can train basic guys a lot better than you guys can. He hangs on a dungeon without his mask, and he gives his mask back. And then he fights every single person associated who's there. Fights Okada. It's like, oh, I'm impressed with your kicks. It's like, okay. Yet to impress me. I'm like, is Taskmaster flirting with her while he's trying to fight her? I get the fact Okada is a beautiful woman, but my gosh. Yeah. But no. Cinematic Dungeons, because I think the reason why she did it because she got embarrassed by Taskmaster. Yep. And then he's picked up by Nick Fury. And then back at home. And then we have Widow like, I'm gonna basically hold myself over a bunch of these guns. And then the last issue. Yes, last issue. Because this issue for some reason has to follow up with elements of Hammer. Now, this is older than the stuff with AVX. This is something that Bendis started back in 2009. An organization lasted for a whole year, replaced S.H.I.E.L.D. And then was brought back like a year later briefly as a criminal syndicate. Then elements were used to rebuild Han and Hydra. But of course, Nick Fury in uniform, who for some reason is wearing general stripes, which is weird. You're thinking, when the heck did he put on the general? I'm thinking that with this version of Nick Fury is that, wow, it's like we're really trying to hammer in the black Nick Fury stuff because there's a black Nick Fury in the movies, so let's put one in the comic. I kind of thought this maybe MacKay actually wanted to use the original white Nick Fury, but he probably was told, no, you can't use them. We had to use the black Nick Fury. You could say that, but of course they do. This is where they reference the Battle Scars miniseries, which they do not have an editor's note for that. I can tell because this is where Nick Fury Jr. had hair. That is from the Battle Scars miniseries. And it is a shame they don't have an editor's note for that. Because unless you know what the heck they're talking about, you're probably like, wait, when did Nick Fury Jr. have a count Taskmaster? Read Battle Scars. That's where this happened. And then the car gets taken out by Black Widow, the way they survive. And then, of course, you have Black Widow fighting. And, of course, you have Taskmaster just running away, which is kind of funny. And, of course, like, I didn't kill Nick Fury. I didn't kill Marie Hill, excuse me. And it's like, good night, Taskmaster. Letter for that. And then here's Marie Hill alive and well. Yeah, and the whole thing, turns out this whole thing was to get their hands on a weapon developed by Norman Osborn, who is sane. Yes. And they referenced the Nick Spencer Missing Experiment, which I'm glad they referenced that, but I really wish they would have referenced Battle Scars. It's almost like writers at Marvel Comics are embarrassed by Battle Scars. Yeah. And then, of course, like, all about these signatures, get these, and apparently the book just ends where it's like an orbiting communication strike, where that's what it is, just a weapons platform. You don't see what it is, we just have him just walking away. And in the miniseries, I'm like, okay, interesting. You would have thought, though, basically this would have been something interesting for this will be interesting for, like, you know, to explore more. It's almost like we just end. But it's a good miniseries. I gotta admit, this was a fantastic miniseries. Now, did I think basically, now, the only reason why this book was released, now, was it released in 2021 with the Black Widow movie? No. Alright, this book was released... Oh, it was released in 2021. So it was released as promotion for Black Widow. Yeah. Oh, in case you're curious, this was the third volume, like I mentioned. The last one was released a decade prior. 10 years prior. And the first volume that was released in 2002, where Taskmaster had a completely different look. Oh, in case you're curious, who wrote those two volumes? The second volume of the book was written by Fred Van Lin. And volume 1 for Taskmaster was written by Ken Suchon. Yep. But this miniseries was a lot of fun. Oh my god, this book was so fun. Yeah, it was just really good. But at least it was a miniseries, not ongoing. Which is nice. And basically the whole thing felt closely. He was not really brought up in here at all. But my guess is also that the reason why, aside from the Black Widow promotion part, because Taskmaster featured in the movie, this time gets a woman, not one. My guess is probably the reason why they decided to do this now, this miniseries, when they released it a few years ago. It's because it's been 10 years since Black Nick Fury showed up in the comics. Yeah, that is pretty much the reason for it. Yes. Yep. So, I'm going to give Taskmaster, the Rubicon trigger, a 9 out of 10. Yep. Actually, because the book is actually really good. I'm giving it 9.5. Yep. So yeah, that's basically a particular review. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, turn notifications, and do not hit the like button. Well, next up is ReZero. And this is going to be talking about this one, okay? Thanks you. Bye.